So your child is in band for the first time. Most likely they're in fourth grade, and you need to get an instrument. Now, I wish that we had an instrument for every student that wanted to play in band, but unfortunately, we're not that well equipped. The district does not give us enough money to provide for all the students. So for the beginners, they have to rent instruments. And the only instruments that beginners can use are flute, clarinet, alto saxophone, trumpet, and trombone. So I'm going to walk you through how to get your instrument once we have decided what instrument your child will be playing. Now, the first step is students will get fitted for an instrument either by me, Mr. Watford, or the music store representative. That's going to happen during these first couple of weeks of school. Most of the students have already been fitted for an instrument, so we have a list of instruments that they can play that they would be most successful on. And in these first few weeks of school, if they've already been tested on them, we're going to try and narrow down to one instrument that they'll be playing for the rest of their time at New Hampstead K-8. Now, there is a chance at the end of this semester for the students to audition for a different instrument that is beyond these only primary five. We call it the Big Five. And those include percussion, French horn, baritone, tuba, bass clarinet, and oboe. Now, after we have decided what one instrument the students will be playing this year, then the parents and the student can attend the rental meeting. So we're going to have the rental meeting on our back to school night. At this meeting, you'll be able to speak with the representatives from Portman's Music Store and set up a contract where you can rent or even buy outright your instrument. I recommend renting because renting is a cheaper alternative, especially if your child is likely to audition and make it on a different instrument like French horn or percussion. Whereas if you bought the instrument outright and they go on to that other instrument, you would have that first instrument that you bought initially, and then you have to buy another instrument. Or you would have that instrument and your child won't be using it because you'd be using a school instrument if it's like the tuba or the French horn. So it's important to try and rent, because if your child ends up moving to a different instrument and it's a rentable instrument, then you can return that instrument to the music store, and the payments that you were making can go toward the new instrument that your child is going to be playing. Or let's say your child is in fourth grade and they move to an elementary school that doesn't have band, then you can return that instrument and stop making payments on it, which is one of the nice things about renting. But what's also nice about renting is these are rent-to-own programs. So after a certain period of time, which they can explain to you at the rental meeting, you won't have to make payments anymore, and that instrument will belong to you. You will own that instrument, and it will not be a rental. What's also nice about these rental instruments is you can get free maintenance on them. We have a representative comes by the school whenever we need them to, and they can make minor repairs at the school. They also can take them into the shop to get repaired. If you have the protection plan, the repair won't cost anything. Even if it's a really, really bad repair, if the instrument messed up very badly, it still doesn't cost anything if you have that protection plan, which I recommend getting because your child will drop the instrument and something will need to be repaired on it. So it's better just to spend the extra $5 and have that peace of mind knowing you won't have to pay for a $200 repair. Now, they're going to talk to you about the accessory package. They may ask if you need the accessory package, and the answer is yes. The accessory package is a one-time purchase, so you're not going to be paying for the accessory package over the time of them being a band. You pay for it once, and you get all these things with it that you're actually buying those. Those aren't rentals. So you get the book that we're going to be using in class. You get all of the accessories like cleaning supplies, lubricant, things to take care of your instrument with, because if you don't take care of it, it won't work properly and your child won't sound good and they won't continue with it because they won't be having a good time. So please make sure you also get the accessory package. It's a one-time purchase. Now, once you set up your contract with the music store, whether it's Music and Arts or Portman's, they will know when to deliver them to the school, because I talk with the music stores and I tell them when I want the instruments delivered, because I need all students to get the instruments at the same time, because we're all going to be learning them at the same time. So once the instruments come in, we will have a quick start day where we will have some guests come in to help teach the students, number one, how to properly put it together. Because if we don't train them to properly put it together, they're going to put it together wrong and most likely break it before they even get a chance to play the first note. They're also going to learn how to properly care for it, and they're also going to learn how to properly play their first couple of notes. This quick start day will be on the calendar soon, but the students do not need to try and worry about getting their instrument before that day. Now, let's say you can't make it to the rental meeting on back to school night. You have a couple of options. You can go to the music store. Both of them are on Abercorn and not far from each other. And you can tell them that your child is a fourth grader at New Hampstead, K8. Make sure you say K8, because if they talk about the high school, the instrument will go to the wrong place. Tell them what instrument that you'll be playing, what your child will be playing, and then they're going to get your contract drawn up and deliver that instrument with the rest of the instruments that are going to be delivered. Now, let's say you can't go all the way downtown or all the way down to the mall area, which is where Portman's and Music and Arts are. Then you can go online to the website. And I've got a link to Portman's on our band website. Hopefully you've seen that before. And you can set up your rental contract from the homepage there. Just make sure you list New Hampstead K8 as your school so that it can get delivered with the rest of the instruments. Now, there are some very important things that you should not do. Number one is don't buy an instrument from a pawn shop. Don't buy an instrument from eBay. Don't buy an instrument from Amazon, Walmart, or anywhere that sells groceries or clothes. And don't refuse to get an instrument entirely. Now, let me go into a little bit of depth about this because it's very important. We always have some people who just don't want to pay attention to this. If you buy an instrument from these places, number one, if it's a pawn shop, sometimes you can find a good instrument there. But to the untrained person, you wouldn't know what you're looking for. Some look great, but they're not actually great because on the inside, they're terrible. So there's some red flags to look out for, but you actually wouldn't know what you're looking at. So it's best not to get it from a pawn shop. Don't buy it from eBay for the exact same reason as a pawn shop. You know, you could be getting a good used instrument, but you also don't know whether or not you are, and it's a big risk to take. Now, with Amazon, Walmart, and any of that, they will make it look nice. Some of them come in different colors. They come with gloves and all these other things in a box. But these are not good instruments. These are bad instruments, and they're bad for a couple of reasons. Number one, they sound terrible. Number two, they're made out of poor quality materials so that whenever a fourth grader is handling them, they break easily. Whereas the instruments you would get from Portman's or Music and Arts, you could technically throw it across the room, and it may get dinged up a little bit. It may need to be straightened out a little bit, but it'll still work. Whereas if you did that with one of the instruments from any of these places, Amazon, Walmart, or any of that, it'll break and it will be irreparable damage. The music stores, the repair shops, they can't even get parts for these because they're just of such low quality. Even if it was just as simple as bending a key back, they can't even do that because if they tried to bend it back, most likely the key will break. So please, please, please do not. I understand that they're cheaper, but this is one of those instances where you get what you pay for. So please, please, please do not get an instrument from Amazon, Walmart, Costco, anything like that. And lastly, don't just refuse to get an instrument entirely and not communicate that you're not doing that. Every year we always have one or two children who they're sitting in band class and they still don't have an instrument. Meanwhile, we've been playing for a month or two and I can't get in touch with the parents about why you don't have an instrument. please communicate with me if acquiring an instrument is financially a barrier for you. We can come up with some solutions, but you have to communicate with me, and my contact information is on the website. So please make sure you're communicating if acquiring an instrument is becoming a challenge for you. Hopefully that explains a lot. You can get more questions answered by the music store representatives. I only provide the facility for the rental night. They handle all of the financial transactions and the contracts. The only interactions I have with them is providing the space and the time and asking them to come over whenever we need repairs. So any questions you have, please send them to me. If try not to be offended if I tell you that that's a question for the music store. That's just one of those things. I have to keep that separate. So hopefully you understand what's expected now for acquiring an instrument. And please let me know if you have any other questions or need further clarification.